Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, whatever you want to drop that last part is fine with me. Spitz, how's it feel to be done? Oh. Yeah, good. All right, here's how we'll do the next couple minutes. I'm going to say a few words of goodbye to a couple folks and recognition, and then Jamie and I will do, for those of you who were here last year, what we do every time at the end of the semester, which is the picture of the year, and do just a brief bit of thinking through the year, and then we're done. Where is Patrick Cozey? Mr. Cozey.
DK!
Susanna, where are you? Are you coming down to join us?
Please do, senor.
Remember when you did our family a service with helping with a tutorial, and I said the payoff was the best brownie in the history of the world?
Yes.
And you ate it,
Yes.
and you said one of the best.
Yeah.
Always cautious, cozy. Well, here are some more of what I purport to be the best brownies in the history of the world. So I was trying to figure out which stories I could tell in public, which cozies. And I don't know if I've got the list figured out right or not, so we'll see. What was the song you sang on the first day of school? So Nancy says to me, you know how we generally have some performance of the opening ceremony day of school, and Nancy says, there's this kid, and he's really good, so I'm going to sort of break the rule, and I'm going to have him do the performance. He hasn't been at the school yet. This will be his first day. He's a freshman, but I think this kid is something special. And he was and he is. So he sang us into our opening of our 4th year of school. Patrick was in the class that was here with all the kids that started. So he went to school with the kids that were the first 28, or those that were left of the first 28 in the 4 portables, through to 7 years on the other side of that, and now back with you guys. So he's seen the whole school from start to finish. And he's one of the few people who has that vantage point. And the thing about vantage points and Cozey is he uses them all the time. If you've had a chance to be around him, you know he has a propensity to pontificate a bit. I always used to think of him as the Buddha of the place. Something would happen in front of him or go by, and he'd just make his comment and sort of move on. There was Scott Lockwood's older sister had the, I'm not sure how to phrase this, had the something of Scott Lockwood's older sister is a incredibly talented writer. She won national awards for plays and poetry contests. This is a serious person, but she had the misfortune, perhaps, to come to school here when Cozey was a junior, and she was a freshman, and she had followed Catherine Brunton, who is a wonderful actress, and so when they're in rehearsals for, well, whatever the first one was.
Lord of the Flies.
Yep, is that right?
Lord of the Flies. The first time Cozey sees Elise, who looks like a very much younger version of Catherine Brunton, he says, Ah, Catherine the Lesser. It took Elise Lockwood a couple years to see it as a compliment, but eventually she did. So Cozey's in 10th grade and he writes this really remarkable paper, and I pass it around to a few teachers, and so a number of us come up to him and say, wow, this is pretty amazing stuff. He says, no, it's not. And God. And so we go do this, back chat for a little bit, and then finally Nancy, unfortunately, is about the fourth person to come out, and she says, no, this could be published. And he said, you're nothing until you've been published in the New Yorker.
Phrasing wasn't, yeah, that was more or less the sentence.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah, he meant it. He was in 10th grade.
Yeah.
Oh, well. One of the things about old Patrick is, so in 10th grade he was also in AP Spanish. And I started hearing rumblings during the year, and that means Susanna would come down and she'd say, well, there's this thing, it's AP Spanish Lit, nobody really does it, it's 40 books, it's a horrible list, and then she'd just go. And I had no idea what we were really talking about here. And then Cozey would slink around and say, there's this Lit AP. And I'd say, oh, good, I didn't know my lines. So they sat down together for the next year and a half. Was it? What? Oh, okay.
I read some of the other stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I think it was like a year and a half.
We didn't.
Okay, all right. So they had a class together with businesses for
Yes.
junior year, and then they sat together.
Including that grade ball.
Thank you. Junior year.
Yes.
Yes. So they had 20-some books to go, because at the start of junior year, nobody knew it was going to lead to the AP test. That's the part that they figured out they wanted to do. And there's two parts of this story. One, many of you know Patrick Cozey operates at a level in relationship to text, the like of which I've never seen. So sitting down with Patrick, even if it's in his second language, to talk about the structure of texts and how to account for their meaning, means you got to be pretty damn smart and pretty comfortable with yourself. So that's the Susanna part of this. Look at her face. So she and Patrick basically did an independent study together on the major works of Spanish literature that led to taking the AP test. I would argue it's led to something else. Those of you that are here now know that we have this remarkable language program that people who are in it are proud of, that it's thriving, that there are 29 kids in AP French and Spanish of various kinds this year. In my mind, this is when the advanced program started, and I know we had AP before, but it was the two of you sort of saying, we're going to make time in our lives for this, and this really advanced work, doing it really well, really matters. And I think we have the outcome of that commitment that the two of you made to the work and to each other as a part of the Spanish and French program at the school. So thank you. Is there anybody from the semester who has a Cozey observation before we get to the end of this? It's fine. All right. If you have something and you want to say it to him, he is going back to Stanford, so I send him an email or do it this afternoon or however. And here's what I have to say. I can't believe that I've gotten to go to school with him all these years. When he called Nancy and said, I've got some time before I go back to Stanford, I'd love to be at our school, I just couldn't believe it. So this semester, being able to go to school with McAllister and Taylor and Patrick, it's been a special gift to me. I'm just not going to think about the you're leaving part because you're going to be back. But it's been part of a very special semester. Thank you. What I will say to you is that I think this is the best semester I've seen at our school, and I think in part it's for a number of reasons, but part of it is the extra dimension that you guys are taking on in meeting the expectations and sharing the expectations that this extraordinary faculty has with you, and the way the culture is going these days, and it's not perfect, but it's being led by you, makes the school different. Here's what I believe about how you should use your time over the next 2 weeks. I think you should sleep a lot. I think you should do silly things that really give you rest, and I think at some point you should do an assessment of how this semester went for you personally. It went real well for us. How did it go for you? What are the things you're pleased about? Say them to yourselves. What are the things you'd like to do better at? Say them to yourselves. And do an assessment so when you come back to great January term, you have a sense of the context of what you've accomplished this semester and what further you want to do. Doesn't take long, but it's very important. Have a great break.